One final interview. So the anti-gender-based violence group, Not In My Name, says both the ANC and the EFF must come forward with a police case number as well as tangible evidence of their allegations of gender-based violence. This follows a heated exchange of words during the debate on the State of the Nation address in Parliament. This happened on Tuesday afternoon. The ANC's boy Mamabolo accused Julius Malema of abusing his wife. Malema, in turn, accused President Cyril Ramaphosa of beating his late ex-wife. The anti-gender-based violence group says the incident is unfortunate as South Africa is facing a pandemic where men are at war with women. Joining us now from our Pretoria studio is the Secretary General of Not In My Name, Themba Masango. Themba, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us, Leanne, and good morning.
I just want to get your reaction to what you saw play out on our screens on Tuesday in Parliament.
Yeah, as you rightly introduced it, it's very unfortunate, very distasteful that men could come up in Parliament and use cheap political point-scoring tactics to, overcome one another, especially in the highest office in the land and a place where we feel that this is where our leaders go and make laws about the country's future in Parliament. And to see what we saw was really discouraging. And you would know that Not In My Name leads a lot of young boy programs where we're teaching young boys to aspire to be future leaders and to be men that society can look up to. And some of the things we usually tell them is that one day, if you work hard enough and you're focused enough, you will lead us in Parliament. But only to find that it is the same parliamentarians that are actually degrading that house, using gender-based violence and the pandemic that we are in the country as a political, football. Yeah. Some of the young boys who I was talking to yesterday said, SG, is this what you want us to become in future? And I definitely said, no, this is not what we're looking for. You go there and have integrity. Yeah. And be a gentleman. Yeah. What's important is that people need to understand that you can be robust, you can be clear, you can be assertive without having to be crass and having to be downright, just nasty to one another. This is not what we elected our officials to do. Yeah. Moreover, the women that are being spoken about aren't even there. So there's no sense of agency. Who said that Mrs. Malema needs the assistance of Boy Mamabolo to raise issues of gender-based violence? That is why we're saying that they should come up with case and make sure that they can actually prove what they are saying.
I mean, one would then ask the question, what happens if they can't even provide and prove the evidence that this actually did happen? And this was just, as many people have said, is just using gender-based violence as a political tool, mudslinging at one another and trying to find ways to belittle and gain votes from either side at the expense of abused women, which is a very, very real issue in this country, perhaps one of the most pressing issues. I mean, what happens then? Where does this leave us as a country?
Right. And you're rightly saying it. This is a real pressing issue. It's at the heart of every South African's. You know that the femicide rate in the country is 5.1 times higher than anywhere else in the world, and the misogynistic and egotistical way that it was done also goes to prove that they don't care actually about this issue that the country is struggling with at the moment. And women genuinely feel left alone, that if leadership can be going on like this, we are really in trouble in turning around this pandemic. So what needs to happen is that should, for example, Mr. Mamabolo fail to prove the allegations that he has set out, the ANC needs to take decisive action against him and make sure that he does not serve as a member of parliament.
Well, you know, one would look at exactly what you're saying. I mean, let's just take MP boy Mamabolo. I mean, he raises this in Parliament. Why raise it in Parliament? Why not go to a court of law? If you believe that this is what you know as a fact, same goes for EFF leader Julius Malema, who says that, and again, I just summarize and quote from what he was saying, that even former President Jacob Zuma knows and is fully aware that our President Cyril Ramaphosa used to abuse his wife. Why have they not gone to court with this? Why is it now, which again leads us to the conclusion that this is purely politicking and is again this culture of toxic masculinity?
100%, and it shows you that they really don't take it as serious. It was a matter of actually, proving to one another that if you can go low, I can go lower.
Yeah.
And what's more terrible about it is that there was no sense of agency given to any of the women that have been spoken about. Worse, the president's wife has passed on, not even there. It is really a real low.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Mrs. Malema has also come out and said that I'm going to sue you, I'm going to take you on, because you cannot be speaking on my behalf. And if there is real, true evidence of abuse, it should come out and be taken to the nearest authorities, and the law needs to take care of that issue. But there was no need for it to be ventilated at that level in such a crass, distasteful way that it was done in Parliament. Really, it goes against any, human feeling. Ubuntu was not even there. It's really, really disgusting to see, and we need to train all our young men in our country to say, listen, you being, upstanding and being upfront and being revolutionary does not mean that you have to be distasteful, rude, and be so toxic. And what was most sad to see was the female counterparts in Parliament actually applauding and laughing, and really, it was really something.
Themba, I'm glad you went there, because that's where my mind is going to. It almost, everybody's standing up on a point of order and a point of order and a point of order. One would have hoped that one of their colleagues, one of their female colleagues, would have stood up and said, this is enough. I mean, this is not the right place. But instead, we saw them cheering on. In fact, I don't know the veracity, whether it's true or not, and I'm not going to go there. But, there's also messages doing the rounds of saying, well done, we won that round. No, nobody won that round. Everybody lost that round.
That's right.
And the biggest victim are South Africans. That is the reality. Can we fix this? I mean, this is a reputational damage, second to none. And I don't realize if the EFF and ANC know this, but this is a reputational damage on an issue that is so sensitive. That's why we're one of the highest abused nations in the world. And yet, we look on and watch this silently, and it's not fair.
Yeah, it was an own goal to South Africa in general. We, as a nation, lost out these past few days. And I believe that our parliamentarians should hang their heads in shame with regards to what happened there. Today, I believe the president has got a big opportunity to set the record straight, come through to Parliament in his response to the questions of answers, and actually say that this was completely wrong, speak to the nation as a father, make sure that we gain the trust of the House back again, and actually rebuke all sides and say that this is not a joke, this is not something we play around with. If we are debating and we are upfront and we are really strong and showing how powerful we are, we do not play with things like gender-based violence because it's a pandemic that we are facing in a country, and it is a sore point to all South Africans. We have sisters, mothers, friends that are still going through traumatic mindsets and scenes and counseling because of things that they went through in their past. and the atrocities that were committed by men. And the president, as the leading man of this country today, has got a great opportunity, and I hope, sir, that you seize this opportunity to set the record straight, to make people confident in your leadership and make them realize that you are serious about the issue of gender-based violence in the country, and really rebuke all our politicians and make this issue a frontline issue again. And let's beat this pandemic.
Yeah. Just finally, as we close, my final question to you, Themba. I'm reading here that very much so, as you are, lobby group Sonke Gender Justice wants appropriate remedial steps to be taken against both Mamabolo and Julius Malema, the EFF leader. What do you think? Do you think that this is something that should happen to them and they should be held accountable to this?
No, I mean, leadership is taking responsibility and being accountable for your actions, and realizing that if you're a leader and you're in the House of Parliament, you are not just representing the color of your party, but the rest of South African aspirations, young people's aspirations, young men that are looking up to you, that want to see you as leaders who are responsible, who are sensitive to the issues that are facing the country. And I really feel that the remedial action should definitely be taken up. But moreover, I think that the leaders themselves should be able to say to the country, we've erred here, and we went about it the wrong way, okay, and really stress the importance of the issue.
All right, Themba, we leave it there. We thank you very much for talking to us. Themba Masango is the Secretary General of the anti-gender-based violence organization Not In My Name.